Welcome back, everyone. So let's just look at the basic difference between three state-of-the-art languages right now. So C++ is obviously compile time language. So is Java. Um, but in C++, what happens is that your source code is compiled into your platform-dependent executable. So this means that the compiler is responsible for generating executables that are targeted for that specific machine. Okay. Um, this makes the language faster, but what this means is that the packaging process is somewhat cumbersome in C++. In Java, what happens is that your source code is compiled by your compiler into that bytecode, which is platform independent. Okay, so that bytecode is portable to any machine. You can run it basically on any computer, any Android device, any mobile phone. So that bytecode is compatible on any machine as long as that machine has Java runtime environment installed. Okay, so in Java, you have this compiling process from your source code into your bytecode, and then from your bytecode, the interpretation of bytecode into your machine level code is done by Java runtime environment itself. Okay. In Python, the procedure is also somewhat similar, but there is no compilation. Like the whole process is, in some sense, interpretation. Um, in terms of operator overloading, C++ supports, and as well as Python, both language supports overloading your operators. In Java, unfortunately, we don't have that support. There is support for function overloading. You can define uh, you know, two methods, one method that can add balloons, two balloons, or one method that can add two houses, for example. But at least you cannot expose your plus operator to behave differently. Um, and so like this is something that I think the developer community in Java decided not to do, because this is maybe too much confusing at times. There is support for multiple inheritance in C++ and in Python, but in Java, as we already saw, you can have multiple inheritance within interfaces, but you cannot you cannot have a class which inherits from multiple parents. Okay, so inheritance is prohibited in classes, but it is supported in interfaces. But once again, the language has certain implications due to which it does that. And for example, by implication, I mean that in C++, what happens is that there's this diamond problem. So if we have a class, we have two classes who are inheriting from a single class, and then in the bottom, if we have a single class that inherits from those two classes, this forms a diamond. But then it creates a problem of how will you resolve conflicts. That the grandchild class which inherits from two parents, it basically inherits the members from the top, which member like which path will like which member it will inherit from which path. Okay, so this is a conflict. C++ has its own rules to avoid this conflict, but well, Java says that okay, I won't even allow you to do multiple inheritance from classes. Okay. um, and then in Python you can also have inheritance, but there let's just say that the rules of inheritance in Python um, are not as clear as they are in C++, in some sense. Um, I mean, they are clear, but they're not explicit. Um, so the compilation process in C++ produces platform dependent code. Okay, so you need to know your target machine which will be using your source code before you actually compile that code for that machine. Isn't the case in Python and in Java. There is support for multi-threading available in Java as well as in C++, as well as in Python. But in C++, we have separate libraries. We have Boost, for example, which is used by the developer community if they are to use specific IO operations and multi-threading related to that. And obviously, the library support that we have in Python, there's no comparison for that. In Java, it's, we still have some support for databases and UI, which you will see. In C++, it's very, it's very difficult to communicate at that low level, and so therefore, libraries are very, they're not huge in terms of their in terms of choice. You don't have like too many libraries for example multi-threading, or for example UIs, but you can have, but they're not so many as they are in available for Python, for example. The code length in Python is obviously very small. It's a bit large in C++, but there's in Java maybe it's a bit higher. Everything is encapsulated in Java within a class. There is no such restriction in C++ or in Python that you have to have some variables that are residing within a class. Okay. But what makes C++, beneficial in that compilation process, although it is platform dependent, but you'll see if I compile a code for a specific machine, knowing the inherent architecture of that machine, I know that that code will run faster than any sort of interpretation methods that Java and Python use. So as far as speed is concerned, there is no comparison of any language with C++, and purely because C++ is based upon C, which is basically memory dependent. It does operation at very low level, so that is why it is also fast. And there are some syntax norms that are that you have to follow, in C++ and in Java, but just like any scripting language, Python is very user friendly in terms of its reading. So this concludes the feature-wise comparison of these three languages. In the next video, we are going to see collections.